are back. We are back. If you have not read, I have left. I will try to remember how to do it. Go out to my car and get them. I've got a bunch of books out in my car that I forgot in the back. But one of them is The Anxious Generation. And how many of y'all have read that? Okay, excellent. There is a bunch of incredible info in that. That has really almost single-handedly changed a lot of school systems thinking towards some of this stuff. We have a local private school run by the Churches of Christ in our town that has changed a lot of their policies. Murray County Schools, where we live, has changed a lot of their policies, allowing kids to, or disallowing kids now to take phones into schools, all sorts of different stuff. And so that is a little bit difficult for us as parents because it's a communications device for us. But to them, it's something different. And so it's a distraction device for them while they're at school. And so those decisions are hard decisions to be made, and I'm sure that there's plenty of parents that are pushing back on that kind of stuff. But really, that book has been essential, and I would absolutely recommend that you read that. The illustration that Jonathan Haidt starts off with is really interesting. He starts off with an illustration about a billionaire selecting your child around age 9 to go to Mars. Now, they want to join the first permanent settlement on Mars. Your child is eager. Even some of their peers join in. But after investigating, you uncover that there are no studies that exist on how such a journey would affect a child's growth, affect their safety. The planners seem largely indifferent to the welfare of the children. There's no genuine informed parental consent required. There's literally just a checkbox on a form on the internet. And the question that Jonathan Haidt asks is, would you send your child? And it's the same kind of thing. It's like absurd, right? No, no parent in their right mind would do that. But he equates this absurd illustration to how in reality we have handed smartphones and social media to children and basically made them a virtual experiment to figure out what all this stuff does to us. Minimal safeguards, minimal oversight. Tech companies really sold these devices as just fine for kids, right? But the risks are very serious, and the risks are largely unaddressed. So, when we think about this, before we think about this, I want to see if I can advance the slide. Back forward. Am I not doing something right? There we go. Okay, so let's do something fun before we do something really heavy, okay? So, Facebook, okay? First of all, how many think let me ask you this, let me get the age bracket right. Ages 16 to 24, how many of that group would you say are on Facebook and check it at least once a day? 1%? Yeah. Say what? Almost 25%, okay? 100%, okay? It's around 86%. Now, does that surprise you? Why does it surprise you? What? It's for the 1900s. There you go, right? It is for the old people. Okay? Now, the reason why you're not seeing those kids on there is they are largely the generation of what those kids, they actually have a meme name for it. Of course, they have a meme name for everything. They're the lurkers, right? They're the people that are watching everything, but they're not interacting. They're not posting. They're not commenting. They may be liking some things, but you can't really see who likes them. Well, you can on Facebook, but you can on other social media platforms sometimes. So they're watching all the older generation of how they how they're conducting themselves. What's the number one demographic on Facebook today? Somebody want to take a guess? Not far off. 45 to 55. I don't know if it's male or female. I don't think they distinguish between male and female, but the biggest age bracket on 45 is 45 to 55. 10 years ago, it was 35 to 45. It's just kind of moved on up, right? And so again, I asked a group of teenagers this not too long ago. I said, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Facebook? Okay? This is about 13 to 17-year-olds in a teen class. Okay? This is the first one. That's where my dad goes. And you laugh, but it was true. And it's kind of sad at the same time, right? It's like, man, that really is true about his dad. He's all time like bashing everybody on Facebook. Yeah, it actually is the truth. Look at it. What about this one? It's where my mom tags me in photos I don't want anybody to see. You know, I thought about this one too. We finally reached the point where kids don't have any physical photos anymore when they do senior slideshows, right, Ben? Like I used to get, in 2011 when I was a youth minister, I used to get handed a stack of physical photos I had to scan in and put them up on the, don't really have those. You might have a few, but mostly it's just digital here. I'm going to just collect these and send them to email, right? This one's kind of interesting. It's mainly for old people like my mom and my dad. My grandpa writes on it in all caps. Let's go from the bottom to the top here. We'll go ahead and call it senior citizens. Why do senior citizens tend to write on it in all caps? You can see it, okay? Because these phone screens didn't used to be quite as big as they are now, right? So they write on it in all caps. They don't understand that that's vernacular for what? Screaming, yelling, right? Oh, she's so cute and wonderful. It's okay. You don't have to do that. Thank you. How many of you want to take a guess at how old this kid's dad was? His mom and dad were 35 exactly on the dot. They were like 35, 36, right? And that was he was like a 13-year-old kid. He's like, oh, my mom and dad are old, right? And so again, when we think about this kind of puts it in perception for us. What we see now is a large drop-off with Facebook when you get to 15 years old. For some reason, the 15-year-old age group and below, it just goes. Now, they're not supposed to be on anything until they're 13, right? Because that's what the end user license agreement says when you signed up. If you signed up your kid for Facebook or for any other social network that required them to be 13 years old, you had to lie about their age. Don't do that, please. That's not good. But I call this the social dilemma, and hopefully we'll have some discussion around these things and talking about social media. I've got a lot of interesting, thought-provoking things to think about. How many of y'all have seen this? If you haven't seen this, I would absolutely watch it. Don't watch it with your kids. It's got some language in it. It's got some interesting things in it, but absolutely watch it. Maybe give it a rewatch because it still applies. This was basically a group of people that were interviewed that worked at places like Instagram and other social media networks, Facebook, I think, that really kind of opened a lot of people's eyes about this kind of stuff. Mark Zuckerberg's kids don't have a Facebook account. I wonder why. If you notice the other tech CEOs, they don't allow their kids to be on a lot of technology. I wonder why. And so again, we need to think about that when we're doing that. This is a question that I wanted to open up for discussion. This is a question that gets a lot of mileage, and I'd love to hear from you. What is wrong with social media? That's what you call in journalism a leading question. I'm leading you into a response because I'm not asking, what do you think is wrong or right about social media? That would have been a more appropriate one to have a balanced discussion, right? But we're talking about what's wrong with it, period. What do you think is wrong with it? What is something that's bad about it?
It's very unrealistic expectations.
That's the number one thing I hear. That's the number one thing I hear all the time. People's unrealistic expectations. People going on their 10th Disney vacation this year. They've got it so good. I'll never have it as good as them, right?
I post pictures of me and my kids making the Christmas cookies. They don't
Yeah, exactly. They don't see the absolute disaster that was, just like I spilled my water here. They don't see all that kind of stuff, do they? We don't see, again, a lot of people call it behind the curtain. They don't see. Social media doesn't really allow you to see behind the curtain all that much. It's just the forward-facing, look how perfect my life is kind of stuff. Yeah, I hear that all the time. What else?
Social media is more like we're the product.
Ah, yes.
Because that's why it's free, because they're selling it to us.
Yes.
That's what it's called, influencers.
Yes. We are the product, not the customer. When you walk into a grocery store, like my favorite gas station of all time is Quick Trip. I love Quick Trip so much. Quick Trip. Oh, sorry. But when I walk into Quick Trip, I'm their customer. When I log on Facebook, I'm their product. And when you tell kids that, they start to look, they go, their mouths just go. Like they don't really, and that's the thing with our kids, is like they're not nefarious. They're not seeking out evil and trouble all the time. They're not trying to do that stuff. They're just naive, right? They just do not understand that this stuff is kind of manipulating us at almost every single level. What else? Yes, sir.
Well, it's not really something wrong with it. I think social media is neutral, but it's opportunity cost. Every hour spent on social media is an hour not spent on doing something perhaps that could be more constructive.
Yeah. Time wasted, right? That's a big thing. I'm actually going to talk about that in the sermon tonight. Time wasted is a huge thing. Why?
Negativity drives engagement.
Anger is the number one motivator.
The algorithm, keeps feeding whatever it's getting engagement.
Yep.
Well, and it's showing you videos and stuff commensurate to what it thinks that you like. So then whenever you hear something, it makes you feel like you have this whole community around you and you're right. And so then
I'm so glad you're saying this.
whenever you hear something else, you're like, that's awful. How
Yep.
could you ever think that?
Yep.
The echo chamber,
What's that?
the echo chamber that it is.
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. In fact, were you looking at my slides? I've got something on here that none of this stuff is going to blow your mind, but it's going to just be like, oh, this is interesting. What else? Give me one more.
So YouTube.
Okay.
Right? So I'm a sucker for YouTube Reels.
Me too, absolutely.
Right? Same thing with Facebook. And how it depletes your ability to be happy. Because it feeds on the dopamine the entire time, and that's where you get that time suck. And you're like, well, I'm gonna hop on here for a minute. Most of mine are all like jujitsu videos or lifting or something like that. But I can't stop watching.
Yeah.
And I look down, like, I've been on here for 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. But you get that sense of high. And certain platforms only allow a certain amount of time, right? And to feed the brain so much information at such a rapid rate, one, is not healthy. And I think that's one of the most traumatizing things for our kids, because our brain isn't designed to do that.
Our brain is developed.
Yes.
Theirs is
But
not.
on theirs,
Yeah.
and what's that? Kokomo? What is it? Kokomo.
Oh, don't
Yeah,
talk
I
about
know
that.
what
Good
it's called.
grief.
Like, my wife was like, absolutely not, you're not watching this, because it would never let their brain stop.
Uh-huh.
And, it's harmful just from a chemical side of things for our brain.
Yep.
But then we want to, the false reality that it gives, we want to step out into reality. Now we don't even know what a real relationship looks like.
Yeah.
We don't know what reality looks like, because we're looking at smoke and mirrors the entire time. And, we used to be at a point to where, like, you see something where your eyes don't lie. That is no longer true.
That is no longer true. I'm glad you mentioned that
With
too.
Social media and most of the filters that they have, the lies that they tell, but on top of that, now we have AI.
That's the number one thing that my boys say, by the way. Oh, it's AI, that's AI. I'm like, no, that's not actually. It could be. It looks like it could be.
Because you don't know.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. I'll talk about tonight. Is like, boy, the lies and deception are just skyrocketing. Do you want to come up here and teach? You're doing a great job. It's amazing. You're doing an amazing job. You looked ahead though, because, and again, I think the gentleman back here is right that what I said so many times, that social media is not evil. There's nothing wrong with it. Or is there? Is it neutral? Because nobody made you though, and I could sort of argue this point. Nobody made you get on Facebook, but oh wait, we gotta use it. It's a social utility now, isn't it?
Well, you look at the social dilemma. Was it created neutral? Absolutely not.
No. The intention was never. Yep.
To suck people in and keep them there as long as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would agree that it is neutral.
Yeah.
I think, like myself, I might just be a sucker.
You go into it at a disadvantage.
Yes, that's exactly correct. You go at it with already at a disadvantage. I think one of the things is that social media isn't social anymore. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It can also be an attack on self-esteem.
Oh, absolutely.
Children also is committed suicide.
Absolutely.
And all of that.
Yes.
That's something that, especially when it comes down to junior high school kids, that is an age that I've dealt with, and it is crucial that those kids understand that they are important, and they are worth something.
And that is why it is so very important for us to not give social media to middle schoolers.
Absolutely.
Because that is the time when their prefrontal cortex is forming itself. They're literally forming their identities, their personalities, exactly. And we cannot, once they get to like 15, 16, the personality is kind of formed, it's kind of fully there. Now they're still growing, they're still forming neurons. You still actually don't finish growing. Your brain doesn't finish growing until you're like 23 or 25. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's just one of those kinds of things where that is the most crucial time. Do not introduce any kind of social media to them, okay? But absolutely true. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I had wanted to say what's harmful also is that I have an 8-year-old granddaughter, and she doesn't go on social media, but she's at school around her teachers and around other adults, and not only that, other kids, and that has started really affecting her emotionally and mentally about their dialogue or their narrative that they're bringing from social media.
Yeah.
And discussing in front of her. And so she has a lot of questions today behind that.
Well, and that's one of the big pushes behind parents just right now. I don't know if your parents have done, or if you've done this as a parent or not, but sleepovers are kind of a thing of the past. And it's mainly a lot for that kind of reason. Like, there are very few sleepovers happening in the Landman household. Because, but I used to do it all the time. Yeah, you're right. They have Zoom, they have FaceTime. Why do they need sleepovers, right? And so that's a very interesting point. And kind of moving on here, it's like social media stopped being social. Remember when it was? You were talking about your sucker for reels, right? I think everybody's a sucker for reels because it's the algorithmic video feed that came about because TikTok was so successful with it. That was never meant to, I'm not watching real, I got this next slide right here. Instagram says that. When you sign up for Instagram, it's probably been a very long time since some of us have logged in or done that, but it literally says this, I checked. See photos and videos from your friends. 7% though. On average, 7% of the interactions are with those friends. It stopped being social. It's not social anymore. It's an algorithmic feed feeding you exactly what you were saying, feeding you the next thing that it thinks that you want to see. And that leads us to the distance between what we actually want and what we're actually getting. There's this huge cavern, and I really feel like there's going to be a point that it reaches either a point of no return or a point where people just finally get sick of it and tired of it, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Because I think some of these companies have so much money and so many resources and so much research and so much data on us that they're already 3 or 4 or 5 steps ahead. And again, I don't mean to make it sound grim or any of that kind of stuff, but they kind of they're the oil companies of the day. They control a lot of stuff, including some of your favorite politicians. Boy, it sounds really grim, doesn't it? I think about this too, and this was a New Britain project poll done this summer. I updated this session this summer. This was an all-new session. This is so cool. 2/3 of kids 16 to 24 said that they think social media does more harm than good. 2/3 of kids. Kids are saying these things. Half of kids 16 to 24 say they spent too much time on it when they were younger. And 3/4, 75% of kids 16 to 24 say the government needs to have more protections in place. Do you know why the government doesn't have more protections in place? They make too much money. There's too much money involved. And don't get me started on lobbying. I think lobbying should be against the law. But whatever. It is what it is, right? When we think about this, Gabby Hensliff said this. She's a journalist that was doing some of this New Britain Project poll. She says, this isn't somehow anyone talks. She was interviewing a lot of kids getting these results. And she said, this isn't how anyone talks about somebody that they love, but about how you look back on a relationship that in retrospect was making you miserable. These are kids. We've all had miserable relationships at some point in our life. That is how I look at Facebook, as a miserable but necessary relationship. I do not like it. I have one or two little things that I have to do for our church Facebook account, that I keep up with these other different things, and that's it. It is a necessary evil in my life. Do you feel this way? What do you think about some of this stuff? Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Nobody really mentioned this, but I'm bad about it. Like, I'll get on it. I can spend an hour, and I find little things, and nothing's dirty. They're about refinishing furniture, but it goes on and on and on. But my thing is, I start worrying because, this is just an example. I watched one the other day about Ziploc bags. You're not supposed to let plastic touch your food. You're not supposed to drink out of plastic water bottle. I mean, it just goes on and on. And I just think, golly, I've gotten this old and I've made it this far and and stuff. But then I start worrying about it and I tell Russ, we gotta not buy any more Ziploc bags. We gotta get glass because, I mean, it can take over your mind.
Yeah.
And I do think about that.
And we know people that it has. We know the people who have, and again, we all kind of think about the politics of stuff. Like I told you that the worst idea that a human can do is like giving middle schoolers social media. The second worst idea is getting in a political discussion or argument online. That's the worst. There's no victory there. Everyone loses, okay? Depends on what you're... Okay, all right.
I would say it's just there really is some good stuff.
There really is.
For some reason, my algorithm on my Facebook reels right now is pretty cool.
I feel the way you feel about that. I feel that way about Instagram.
I would have never used probably the music I was listening to if it hadn't been for the algorithm. Like I'm a Brandon, like I, not just him, but all these different preachers and
Yeah.
all these different topics of Bible studies
Yeah.
and comments and stuff.
And that's a positive, right? Yeah.
Like the one, I'm sure you're talking about Columbia Academy, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, they just popped up on my Facebook reel, just to be fair. There was some song leading service during their chapel or something that they had.
Yeah.
And then you said private academy. Anyway, but like.
They're all listening to us. Did you hear that? They're all listening to us.
There are a lot of things that can be good from it, right? Because.
Well, I hope I mentioned some of those this morning. Yeah.
To spend more time in the scriptures and reading, and you hear someone's take on scripture or something. You're like, what? Let me go back and read that. Like, so majority of it, yeah, probably not good. Definitely. Other than Marketplace, I really don't use. Yeah, that's a good
Oh, the value of something like YouTube to me is incalculable. Because when I can use the same platform to keep up with the stuff that I enjoy watching, but also get commentary on the stuff that I'm watching, and also get college football stuff and F1 racing stuff and knife stuff. And oh, by the way, I needed to figure out how to install a toilet in my bathroom. There was 45,000 videos on that. You know, it's like, it's incredibly useful tool. What?
But none of them were your toilet.
Right, but none of them was my toilet. But the principle still applied, you know. That does happen with cars. It's like, no, but I have this car. I need you to do it on this. No, it's okay. Yes, sir.
I think, just listening to some of the comments, that sometimes we may fall into the trap of victimization, mentality, blaming. I mean, it's a free country, the rules are set up the way there's choice. It's like, well, you know, I drank that alcohol, it made me sick, so it should be banned.
Yeah.
From, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever is unpalatable, and making excuses for maybe, you know, stricter parenting, taking responsibility, accountability, culpability. Oh, it's all around us. Well, so is print media and television and music and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
It's been around for a while, too.
So,
Yeah.
are we using this as an excuse for us to say, for maybe our shortcomings of parenting is hard?
Yeah.
It's not hard in providing, putting food on the table like it used to be. Now it's building the character of your children and teaching them self-esteem and discipline and so forth. So again, you know, we have the First Amendment and we have other rules in a free market capitalist society that people should be able to market what they market. But it's our choice, and that's what the church is all about, and that's what Scripture and the Bible is all about. It's about discernment.
Yep.
Right? And that's our responsibility. It's not a company or a government or corporate. It's our personal responsibility. So just thinking that sometimes we fall into that trap of blaming others for maybe our own shortcomings or failings.
Mm-hmm. And that is probably the core of what we're all talking about, right? And I'll be talking about a little bit about discernment in our sermon here tonight. So I hope you'll stick around for that. But yeah, it's difficult to think about some of these things. We talk about, you know, I'm keeping on this same thread with the same question. Again, it is all up to us. It is how we use these things. Obviously, you have chosen to like or participate in things that the algorithmic feed is still feeding you that enrich your life versus something that somebody watches one time and our algorithm gets thrown off, and we have all these things that are served to us that we don't like, and we tend to feed in the opposite direction, right? And so again, that's the slippery slope. And sometimes it's one of those things I told the teen Bible class this morning, and alluding to the man's comment back there is, do you have to use this? One of the best things I ever did was get Facebook off my phone. Plain and simple. Like, I'm still on Facebook, but I got to go to a computer and use it. But one of the best things I ever did for myself, and it may not be for you, was to get Facebook off my phone, period. And so, again, I asked the question, you know, as we look at what happened and how social media I would say social media used to be at least a little fun. It's kind of not anymore, though. And again, we don't have to participate in it. But what happened? And we've got a few things here. They managed to be able to turn our connection into profit. That's what they did. A lot of the stuff you were talking about before. I still think you got my slides in advance somehow. They turned our attention into revenue. That's a big thing, too. Like, they want every second of our attention nowadays. They want you to be opening that app every time you open your phone, you pull out your phone, right? They want every second of it. Go ahead.
It's not just social media, though. Any digital platform is about this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you do your vacation search, the vacation destinations, every service
Yep.
provider that will get you there is advertising.
Yep.
It's monetized.
Yep. Everything is monetized. Data is everywhere. Your data is spread out across so many different places that you would never even believe. If you use a free service, what are you paying for? What are you paying for that with? Your data. It's not free. You're paying for it. Apple irritates me. I love them, but Apple irritates me because they say, well, we're the company that cares about your privacy. Okay. So if you really cared about our privacy, then you wouldn't let the Facebook app on your phone. Then you wouldn't let the Gmail app on your phone. Because Gmail, if you use Gmail, I've been using Gmail for 15 some odd years, they're reading your email. You know that, right? It's the reason why you get ads in the side of your Gmail. Like, it's just all this stuff we have to realize that maybe when we put it in the context of our kids thinking about these things and growing up in this world, they don't realize this stuff. They have to be taught this stuff, okay? I heard this phrase. They want to colonize our minds. Isn't that crazy to think about? I think this one comedian was using this as an illustration. He said, we've bought up all the land that we can. They colonized all these countries. They colonized all these places. Everywhere in the world has been colonized as much as you can. And then they figured out we could probably colonize their minds, probably occupy their minds, their attention, their time. It's very interesting. What you said about the echo chamber, we'll talk about. Yes, Ben.
The word colonize is an interesting. I was looking at this yesterday. This is really weird. The root word of Latin has colonize and cult in the same place. And so, like, when you're sitting here talking about this with like social media, how quickly you can start to buy into something, and you're like, oh, I believe this wholeheartedly. It's like the exact same thing that happens when you get caught into a cult.
Yeah.
It's like, and we're like, I don't want to be a part of a cult. It's like, what am I doing with my mind?
Yeah.
Social media. It's very interesting.
It's so weird how those things are connected, isn't it? And you mentioned before about the echo chamber. Well, the echo chamber is illustrated very, very carefully in 2 Timothy 4:3. You ever read this? I think about this scripture all the time. Okay? It says this, for the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Boop, check that. We're right there. We've been there for a long time. That's not just a recent thing. But it says, instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. Like you said it before. It's this, in some versions it says, they will pile up teachers and people that agree with them. Now, there's nothing wrong with hanging out or being a part of a group of like-minded people, okay? That's not what we're saying. But what we're saying is like the echo chamber effect of this. Because this is what's happened in a detrimental sense, in a bad sense, of instead of connection, instead of sharing ideas, we've created an echo chamber of ourselves. And it just, you see this stuff over and over on these social media networks, the way it circulates and the way that people just, like you said, buy into it, right? They allow it to colonize their minds. And I tell kids and I tell parents all the time, social media does not have your best interests at heart. Don't even think for a second that it does. What is their best interest? It's not hard. We've talked about it a bunch of times already, right? Their best interest is their shareholders. Their best interest is their P&L statements, their quarterly returns, right? That's their motivation. As long as they keep Wall Street happy, they do not care about your child. They do not care about your family. We need to stop thinking that they do, okay? We can talk about this one. We probably need to skip a little bit of this, but suffice to say, kids don't realize that privacy is an illusion. It is non-existent when we get into the realm of technology. I will tell you right now, your kids think very strongly that there are such things as encryption and keeping secrets online and being able to, for no one to be able to see or no one is watching what they're doing. They believe that. They need to be taught otherwise. We know that as kids, as adults, because when we were kids, the biggest thing that we had to worry about was like, I always remember hearing about the white unmarked van with no windows. Like, don't talk to that guy. He's going to offer you some like ice cream or whatever. And that was like a big thing. And now it's like we need to educate our kids on what those dangers are out there, who they talk to, who they're talking to. You need to be grabbing phones. You need to be looking at your kid's phone. You need to be looking at the different accounts that they're in, the private messaging that they're doing with all these social media networks. You need to be seeing who they're talking to, what they're talking about. Privacy is also an illusion for them, too. They don't get any privacy until they grow up, okay? Y'all said this already. Why are we going over this? You're the product, not the customer. We have to put that in our brains whenever we're on the social media network. Oh, this is how they're getting me, okay? It's every day. We're going to stop here, and we're going to take another very short break because our last session is a little bit longer. I do want to open it up for questions before we go to the break, and open it up for any other thoughts that you might have as well. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about posting your child's picture online? I don't know if you're going to get into that.
Don't do it. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. She asked about posting your child's picture online. That is a very slippery slope, is it not? In the early days when my kids were growing up, we used to, my wife, I'm not trying to throw my wife under the bus or nothing, but she used to do it all the time. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, could we not do that? What is tell me why there would be a danger in doing that?
Well, I've heard that, I actually saw a commercial about it where the AI can take a picture of a baby
Yep.
and make it look like a teenager.
Yep.
And like for pornography or, I don't know. But I've seen people, and actually I have a daughter that does it. She'll put like 15 pictures on there.
Yeah. I have,
People at church, I've seen like 70 pictures.
the first thing that you may have seen from this was that app that you could scan your face and then it would make you look old, okay? That was done by it was a Russian company that was doing that to get facial recognition software to run on facial recognition databases that can run throughout cameras and throughout the world. So these millions of people that did that, and that trend was fueled by a private company that wanted more data. You are providing data whenever you post something. But when you post a picture, you're not just posting the picture. You're posting the metadata. You're posting the facial recognition data if there is a face in it. You're posting, have you seen these apps to where they can put an emoji around the kid's face? You can still share the picture, but it automatically puts an emoji on the kid's face. I think that's pretty cool because then they can't use that. However, what you also need to know is that any photo, if you read the end user license agreement for Instagram, Facebook, whatever, any of those social networks, any photo you post is theirs. They can do whatever they want to with it, and guess what? They don't have to ask you. You could be walking down Times Square in New York City and see one of your photos on a side of a skyscraper, and there's nothing you can do about it because you gave them the rights to that photo whenever you uploaded it. And so that's one of the things that we have to be worried about, but I would never let any app other than the phone itself. I do trust Apple to scan my face for the actual phone, but I'm not going to download an app that scans my face. Is that to say that my facial data and my facial recognition data is not out there somewhere? It's out there. Everything is out there somewhere, right? So again, but we have to be kind of cognizant of what those dangers are. That's a good question. Yes, ma'am.
Even like, I use it to log into my bank account. Like, that's not social media.
So that's I will say, the difference between, I will say on iPhones, I can't speak for Android phones in this respect, but on iPhones, anytime that it uses the Face ID to log into something, it is on the phone. It is staying on the phone. That is in the phone, supposedly on what's called the secure enclave, and that data does not leave the phone, and when you wipe the phone, that data is off. That's why when you get a new phone, you got to do the weird, the thing or whatever, and you got to redo your face because it's new to every phone, okay? That's why, using your phone as a pass key is actually really, really good, because unless somebody has access to your physical phone and access to your face, they cannot log into whatever account that you have if you have a passkey on it. You should look up passkeys. They're different from passwords, and they're the future. Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's not the same thing as like downloading an app and saying, do you authorize us to scan your face? No, they're just using the camera. They're not using the sensor. They're not using the LiDAR stuff. Apple locks that down pretty good. Can't speak for any other phones, but I know that the iPhone does. What other questions? Or observations?
I know, like, what you're talking about, posting pictures of your kids and stuff like that is, this was years ago, so I know that it's probably more up to date on how they can do it now, but they were saying, like, if you, even if you're not, like, posting your location, you posting your picture, they can still pinpoint where you are. You know, like, obviously, like, all of our fears are like our kids being taken away.
Yes.
And that's like, I mean, top list. And so, like, whenever I saw that, that was, I think that's probably when I stopped posting pictures.
So what you're talking about is the idea of metadata. That's when I said metadata. Metadata is embedded data inside every photograph that you take with an iPhone, unless you tell it otherwise. If you go into settings and say, do not create this data with it, you can actually do that. I don't do that, but that's why whenever you open up, have you ever opened up your Photos app and it shows you the locations of where you've been? Oh, you took 400 photos in Plano, Texas for some reason, right? It's got the 400 right there, and it's got you were in Tennessee and you were in Georgia, and that's how it reads the metadata through your phone to tell you, oh, it's got location data for that as well. Now, the only thing about that is yes, that can be tracked by a person with the right tools and the right knowledge can find any information about you that they want to. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. But with metadata on a photo, if I post something to Facebook, say if I took a picture of this crowd right here, posted it to Facebook, oh, that's great, and then it goes out there, Facebook is going to have that metadata. That a person that knows how to do that supposedly could take that photo and figure out that I took it at these coordinates. I was standing inside the Beaufort Church of Christ, and then obviously it could take the data from every one of your faces if they had access to a facial recognition database, and they could figure out exactly who everybody was. So theoretically, you could do that. But again, you would have to have the right tools and the knowledge of how to use them to do that. Metadata is not so much as important on a photo as actually letting the social network itself post where you are when you took it. Does that make sense? So on Twitter or on Instagram, you know how it says location right there? Whenever you post a photo, I don't even know if people even post photos to Instagram anymore. I do, I love it. But like when you post a photo or a video, like it says location, you can pick locations around you and have a list of locations. And you can do that. That is where you get into a little bit more trouble. Because what kids are doing, they'll go out and they'll take pictures all night where they're at or whatever, and they'll leave the location setting on and it will auto post it there. And people will just go, follow the breadcrumbs. That is where you get in more trouble. A lot of the individuals that are tracking that kind of stuff would not understand how to pull a photo and pull the metadata off of it. A lot of them. I'd say 95% of them. But there are a few that do. So that is a legitimate concern, but all the more just be safe and don't post photos that you don't want people to see. It's a tough question. This could lead us very seriously. Do what now? Yeah. This could lead us to like so many discussions about, yeah, we should probably just throw all our phones in the river and live in a cabin down by the woods, right? Like that's kind of where we're going, tinfoil hat kind of stuff. It's not that far-fetched though. And the data is there's so much data on so many people that I think we would be kind of surprised by that if we found out.
There's people trying to bring flip phones back.
They are. Yeah. I've actually been looking at that for my 14-year-old. He needs to know how to do T9. Anybody remember T9? I never learned T9. Let's take a quick break, just about 5 minutes though, and we need to get back started at, 4:50? Yeah, 4:50, so just about 2 or 3 minutes. If you don't want to leave, that's fine. I'm not going to even talk to anybody. We're just going to get the next session ready to go. Thank y'all.